morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's your girl ChucTayyy, and I am here with your RETV Sports Update. You can catch me here every Thursday talking junk and spitting facts. So let's get into it. Guys, can we just take a moment of silence really quick? Because I was going to be really petty and not record anything this week, but I just didn't want you guys to miss out on my dazzling face. However, the Steelers have lost their first game this season. Just give me a moment. Okay, now that that's over, guys, let's get over it, okay? I'm pretty sure the reigning Super Bowl champs lost the game way before we lost the game. Also, the Steelers played 3 games in 11 days, and that's not really a thing. So I think that we can get over it. I mean, listen, the Steelers did quite a few things wrong other than just flat out being fatigued, which we can't really blame on them. I'm looking at you, Roger Goodell. This is your fault. But there's a couple of things that can be adjusted. One of them is our quarterback is old, and not saying that I want to replace Ben, but what I am saying is his run and slide game isn't as on point as it was in previous seasons. We rely on yards. I mean, that's a weird thing to say because football's about yards, but we rely on him throwing the ball down the field and getting our yards that way, which is not gonna work always. I mean, nobody really thought the Steelers were going to be undefeated this year, not even me. It sounded really good, but nobody genuinely thought that. There was going to be at least one game. At least. I was just kind of hoping it was going to be Buffalo. But they lost to the football team. You don't even have a name. I still don't understand this whole we don't have a name thing or they don't have a name thing, because I just find it very hard to believe that you would announce that you're changing the name before you actually had a name. First of all, y'all been talking about that for years. There's been rumblings of it for a very long time. They're going to get rid of the Redskins name, as they should have. However, why wouldn't you have picked the name first? That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, there can be worse things that happen. We could have a way worse record than we have now. And I'm over it, guys. So we'll see what happens as they venture into week 13 and take on Buffalo. See if they cannot make this losing thing a habit. And we'll just have to go on from there. So keeping on track with football, the Big Ten decided that we don't really care about this 6-game rule, and we not only canceled the Ohio State and Michigan game, but we're also going to allow Ohio State and Northwestern to just go on over to the championship, and it doesn't really matter that Ohio State has only played 5 games. Now, I don't really care about this as much as I'm making it sound like as I tell you what the situation is, because in all honesty, even if they would have played that Michigan game, which literally was canceled because the COVID is running rampant through Michigan at this present point in time, Ohio State was going to go anyway. Even if they would have played Michigan and lost, they beat Indiana, which really just would have meant that Ohio State would have been 5-1, which is exactly the same record as Northwestern, and they would still be going. So it's basically hey, we're not going to postpone this because you guys are sick. Wait for you to not be sick. Play the game if we're just going to send them anyway. So let's just keep everybody safe, if you will, and just move it right along to the big show. And I don't disagree with that because, again, it's December. We're still dealing with COVID, and I don't know how many people watching this are in North Carolina, but they have announced, at least for North Carolina, that starting on the 14th, which I believe is Friday, they're shutting restaurants down at 10. Bars need to stop serving liquor, or anywhere that serves liquor has to stop serving it at 9. And basically, you need to be in the house between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Now, I'm always in the house at that time anyway, but for others that run rampant, This is what y'all get, because y'all need to stay in the house, keep your mask on, wash your hands, and social distance. But no, we've been doing this since March or February, or I don't even know how long at this point, and it's December and we're still doing it. And I know that there are other states that are getting ready to follow, so it just is what it is at this point. That's it. I mean, that's it. It just is what it is. So Ohio State and Northwestern going to the Big Ten Championship. I don't really think anybody should lose sleep over this. It's a safety thing. It's a health thing. And it's a get over it thing. Just, they were going to go anyway. They're currently undefeated. If they would have played one more game, they were still going. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Move on. Anyway, let's flip on over to basketball, shall we? We shall. So Coach K, after him and the Dukies suffered a loss to Illinois. Let me just make sure I have the score right here. 83-68. Yikes. Basically came out and said that he doesn't agree with how the NCAA has decided to kind of start the season. The players basically had to spend Thanksgiving at school with the team, away from their families, which... Okay. I mean, basically what it boils down to is he's saying it's a mental health thing because of the players and personnel who do happen to contract COVID. You have to be in isolation, in quarantine. What does that do for your mental health? You can't visit family. Even if you're well at this point, you probably can't visit family because traveling just puts you at a higher risk. Of course, being around people that you're not always around anyway puts you at a higher risk. So his thing is basically the mental health of the players and the personnel, coaches, whoever is within basketball season and having to go through all of the things that they need to go through to ensure their safety. I don't disagree with that sentiment. What I do have a problem with, though, is yet again, much like the NFL, we had all of this time to figure these things out. Like, literally, college basketball, or at least the remainder of the season last season, was canceled because we were right at the smack dab beginning of COVID. There was no March Madness. It just kind of ended. School just kind of ended. Everybody just kind of stopped what they were doing. So you're telling me from March to now, to basketball, college basketball started 2 weeks ago at this point. So from March to November, you guys could not have it figured out where we wouldn't be having to have this conversation. You know, did the kids have to play, or did the teams rather have to play the week of Thanksgiving? We could not have waited a few weeks. I mean, at this rate, we're probably not going to get March Madness in March unless they start making some serious changes to the schedule. But I don't really foresee that happening. Because it's December and they've only been playing basketball for 2 weeks. So, and I'm pretty sure like a ton of games are probably going to end up getting canceled in the coming weeks because, again, COVID is spreading at a much more rapid, that sounds dumb, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say that. It's just spreading at a faster pace. So as of Tuesday, there have been over 200,000 cases in the United States, a couple thousand deaths off the top of my head because I didn't write that one down, but I think it's like 2,500 deaths across the United States. Like I said, North Carolina is basically shut down. Like, y'all cannot be out of your house after 10 p.m. Duke is in North Carolina. You know, so he has a point to the extent of COVID numbers are on the rise. You know, it's traveling. It is being around people that you're not normally around. Of course, they can't play basketball in their masks if they do get sick because, let's just say somebody on Duke gets sick because somebody on UNC has COVID and they didn't know that they had COVID. Like, now the whole team is in jeopardy, not to mention all of UNC in jeopardy, coaching staff in jeopardy. It's a domino effect, which is why I'm trying to figure out why y'all think this is a game. Like, COVID is not a game. It's not a game. I just want to leave leave my house and not worry about it. But we can't do that because there are a lot of people out here just leaving their houses all willy-nilly and acting like this is not a thing. I would love to leave my house and not put a mask on, but I can't do that, and I don't do it because I know that COVID is a real thing. It's not that hard, guys. Just put on the mask. Stay home. Wash your hands. Leave people alone. Social distance. I saw 3 videos on Instagram today that kickbacks and parties and we doing it big for New Year's. What do you mean? What do you mean you're doing it big for New Year's? And I also think that the misconception is just because you have on a mask, you can like be in some mass quantity group. Wrong. That is wrong. Wrong. So stop. Just stop. Anyway, so Coach K, I don't disagree. However, I do remember a couple months ago, like in the late summer, you were one of the coaches that were kind of advocating for some changes, and maybe we change March Madness into May Madness. And, I those rumblings kind of stopped. And being the figure that you are, Coach K, not to chastise, I suppose, but you have way more pull, I would say, to just be letting the shiati happen and just being like, okay, well, like you could have fought a little harder for this. In my opinion, I could be totally wrong. All of the politics that go into basketball and football and NCAA as a whole, I'm not there. I'm just a chick on the other side of an iPad talking junk. It's what I do. It's in the tagline. But I just think Coach K, Calipari, all of these coaches come together and be like, whoa, I think something could have been done. That's what I think. Moving right along. It tickles me a little bit, but James Harden, sans Russell Westbrook, wants to be traded from the Houston Rockets. That's not the funny part. Just stay with me. And because he wants to be traded and said trade has not happened yet, he's acting like a 5-year-old. So he just decided, I'm not going to show up for COVID testing or practice until Tuesday, which is 2 days after he was supposed to be there. And then was just like, but I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Atlanta to party with Lil Baby. What? Now they're like, well, you can't come to practice at all until you have 6 consecutive negative COVID tests. 6. That's double what he would need to have if he actually came back positive. The rule, as I mentioned last week in the NBA, is you have to have 3 consecutive days of negative tests. They said, nah, bro, you have to have 6 because you were in Vegas and in Atlanta wilding with no mask. So don't come over here. And you're acting like a petulant child and not coming to work because you want to be traded. If you would just do what you were supposed to do, show up for work, and then not act like a 2-year-old. Like I have a 3-year-old that doesn't act up in such a way, because you won't do what you're supposed to do. If you want what you want, why would I trade you? It's kind of like I hate to make this comparison because y'all know I hate to say this man's name out of my mouth. But like, remember when Antonio Brown was acting like a 3-year-old because he wanted to be traded, and then he went on that whole like lap around his grandma's backyard or wherever he was because he did finally get traded? This feels a lot like that. And James, you don't play enough defense to be acting like this, okay? So, if you want to stand outside the perimeter and dribble for 2 minutes and just let the other 4 players on your team just like stand there, cool. But like, nobody's going to let you do that if you don't show up for practice. It's not that hard of a concept. Also, like, maybe don't go to Vegas when you're supposed to be at practice. Also, maybe don't go to Atlanta when you're supposed to be at practice. Also, maybe wear a mask if you're going to be out in public. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. What is wrong with everybody? There has to be a full moon. Has to be. Because y'all are tripping. Okay? Tripping. it's like you're acting out so that they'll trade you. But also, if I'm a GM or a coach, I'm gonna be like, okay, but like, what happens when he wants to leave here? Is he not gonna show up for practice again? Is he not gonna show up for a game? What? You don't play enough solid basketball all the way around to be acting like this. You don't. You can dribble all day long. That's cool, but offense sells tickets and defense wins games. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. That James Harden thing, first of all, I really respect his offense because it's like not a well-rounded game because he doesn't play defense. But like you don't, and the traveling, don't get me started. Just don't get me back started on him. NBA season starts in less than 2 weeks on December the 22nd. So definitely going to be hearing about a lot more basketball. Of course, we're going to keep an eye out on different COVID things and how it's affecting the different sports. But you can catch me here next Thursday, every Thursday. Well, maybe not the Thursday after that because Christmas. But you can definitely catch me next Thursday right here, talking junk and spitting facts. I'll see you next week.